going on? I'm El Director, this is El Director Vision, and you're watching Indie Rebel Hollywood effects without a Hollywood budget. For those of you that have been longtime subscribers of this channel, you may be wondering, what is Indie Rebel? And let me tell you real quick. Indie Rebel was a channel that I had started as a secondary channel teaching film and digital visual effects and that kind of a thing. And just due to COVID and needing to work from home and things like that, I'm like, it's too difficult to manage two channels, so I want to consolidate them all into one. And I figured, El Director Vision is kind of my larger channel, so I'm going to bring the Indie Rebel show over to here right now. So if you guys are into independent filmmaking and want to learn more about it, be sure to click that subscribe button, and let's have some fun. Alright, well, in order to pull off a movie like this, the first thing that we need is a script. Now, I like using Final Draft. It's very easy, very intuitive to use, and you can just start writing. It knows by what you're typing and what keys you're hitting using Tab and Enter what formatting you want to be in. So you're not having to go through and click a bunch of menus to say, this is a scene heading, this is a character, this is the character's dialogue. It knows, it's contextual, it's aware of everything, which is really, really good. Once your masterpiece is written, you can print it out, which I like doing so I can make notes on it, and then you can start doing your storyboards. I don't always storyboard my films, but in this case, because I knew that my wife was going to be running camera, I thought it would be a good idea to help visually communicate a little bit more of what we're trying to do, and it shows her in advance the flow of the shots and what we're doing and how this is all hopefully going to look at the end. With a plan in place, it was now time to start bringing all the gear up from the office and the production studio up into the living room, as that's going to be the location for the day. And I have a lot of toys now. I kind of sometimes miss the days of shooting Rise of the Beast 10 years ago, where I just had a DSLR and a tripod. Now you've got, not just the camera, but you've got lights and sound gear and all this other stuff. And the camera itself weighs like 15 pounds, and it definitely slows down the production. What it does give me, though, is the ability to have a lot more finer control over the image, and thus, controlling a little bit more of what you're seeing on the screen. And it does it a lot easier than the DSLR did. So there are advantages to having the big cinema camera setup and all the lights and all the toys, but at the same time, there's also some downsides too that you need to be aware of if you're going to start going with like that kind of a crazy setup. To light this short, I just used my 3 newer brand LED light panels that I have. One of the things I really like about them is, one, that they're battery operated, so I don't have to worry about dragging cords all over the place. But 2, the color temperature is also adjustable. I can either increase my warms or my cools depending on what the situation calls for. We just went with a really basic edge lighting setup for this movie. Kind of did a strong edge and then a little soft fill. And it was a bit dark, but overall it did give me a good look that I'm happy with.
You did.
Oh, you can come in. Come on, wifey. Let's go. All right, so this is my wife, Karissa. Say hey.
Hello.
So we just got done shooting the first part of this movie, the easy stuff really at that point. Mm-hmm. You were my camera operator.
I was.
Talk about how it was operating a camera when you're not used to doing that.
It's not bad. Shoulder mount is a little different.
It's a big camera, huh?
It's a heavy camera.
A very heavy camera. So we are now flip-flopping. So we were here in the living room where you guys are. Now we're going to come over here to the kitchen. We're getting this up, and now we get to get into the fun stuff of actually playing with the entropy of an object. But that's just a fancy word for saying making things go backwards in time. Before we start screwing with time and making things move backwards, I did want to quickly point out that the cell phone screenshots in this were not visual effects. I literally designed these things inside of Photoshop just before we filmed, and then sent them over to my phone. And I just opened them up as a still image on the phone and just pretended like they were actual interfaces. And that's how I was able to get my reverse entropy app into the App Store. That app does not exist. Don't try looking for it. You won't find it. So now let's talk about how do you reverse the entropy of an object. Well, unfortunately, we can't actually do that, but it is very easy to do as far as the movie is concerned. And what we do is literally just start playing with an object. In this case, it was the bullet. And then I go into my editing software as I'm editing, and I can literally play the footage backwards. That's all there is to it. While shooting on set, we were able to use my camera to play the shots in reverse to make sure that everything was looking good and was going to do what I wanted it to do. But really, the secret's just in editing. You go into editing and hit a switch, and suddenly your footage goes backwards. When I had the original idea for the short film, one thing I really wanted to do was combine reversed footage with forward footage. And I kept mulling this over in my mind over and over and over. How was I going to do it? And really, the only thing you can do, aside from having people act in reverse, which is actually what they did in the movie Tenet, is to stitch two shots together. And we did that here for the second to last shot at the end when my wife comes up the stairs and is like, babe, what's going on? What are you doing? And you see in that same shot, as she's moving forward in time, you see the bullet fly upwards into my hand in reverse motion. And it was actually really simple to do. We just got the two shots that we needed, and then inside of Fusion, which comes with Resolve, I was able to stitch the shots together, and I had a mask that kind of followed the natural lines of the shot. So we kind of followed the counter and then up the edge here of the hallway and the stairwell, and you can't even tell. You can't tell that it's been stitched together. By far the most difficult effect to do for this was not actually the inversion of time, but it was actually the beam effects, and that was done by creating a noise texture that was animated inside of Fusion, and then masking it off between the phone and the bullet and tracking where the phone was in order to have the mask be animated properly, and then using this noise texture that's now been masked to drive a simple glow effect. And then I also had to have a reverse version of it to be the reflection, and you can see these three nodes here make up that part of it. Probably the most challenging of all, however, was in the shot where you see my hand come in and push the button that is going to shoot out the energy beam. And because I just had a still image on my phone, I wanted to give it some sort of life and animation. And the way to do that was by pulling a key from the red and the blue colors, since you couldn't find those in my skin, and doing a garbage mat so it's only around that button. And then once I have that, running it through some channel booleans and mat control nodes, basically creating an alpha channel from the color key, and then that alpha channel then drives the glow effect of the button lighting up. So it did take a little bit of work to think about that and figure out how to make that happen, but as you can see, it actually ends up looking pretty good. Alright guys, I think that is officially a wrap on our spoof of Tenet. My lovely wife here got to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be a camera operator, hand-holding a cinema camera. This is not a little DSLR, this is a little bit bigger. Mwah. Thanks, son.
You're welcome.
Alright, so if you haven't already, be sure to go watch our little short spoof. You can find it in the description below. Otherwise, thanks for watching L Director Vision. I'm L Director. This is... what's your nickname going to be? Just K. This is K. and you've been watching Indie Rebel Hollywood Effects without the Hollywood budget. We'll see you next time. Okay.